Hello everyone, Avea here. So I thought I would make a Mercy Tips video. This is probably going to be split into about 3 parts or 4 parts, I cannot decide yet. I was going to make this a long while back and I even mentioned it, but unfortunately it got really busy in my life, so I just couldn't have time to make it. With all the voiceovers and recording and editing and everything, it gets really crowded and it's just hard for me to work on. So right now, this part is going to be my Mercy settings, and I'm just going to spend this whole video just going over everything about how the settings work. I'm going to go over each hero specific setting according to Mercy, and I'm just going to start right from the basics, from what I learned while playing Mercy, from what I learned from watching other streamers playing Mercy, just from learning Mercy at the beginning. I'm just going to go over and just try to break it down as much as possible, because even though Mercy's kit is extremely welcoming for new players and she's I would say she is quite an easy hero to pick up on, once you get into the higher ranks and you start to learn more about the game and you get general game sense, general game knowledge, she becomes actually a bit more difficult in my opinion, as you have to watch your positioning, know where to fly. If you fly in the wrong direction, you're dead. If you're in the higher ranks, even in lower ranks, you could get caught as Mercy. It's just, no matter what, as you get higher in level, you're going to meet players that know how to kill a Mercy. So you need to know how to counteract that. So I'm going to share my settings with you in this video today. As I said, there will probably be about 3 parts to this video. I will make a Valkyrie usage one, a Resing one, which I'll probably put those two together, and a Guardian Angel use one, which might be in here. So I might be able to do 3 separate parts. It depends on how long. I don't want to make these long because I know just me talking is quite boring, so I'm just going to try to make it as less boring as possible, and just hopefully it'll be educational and it will possibly give you a hand. I'm just going to start off by showing my Mercy settings on the screen, and I will explain how each hero specific setting works, as they are all different and they all have different usages, but they can also work together in different ways depending on what you decide to use. So I will put this up now. Alright, so we're going to start off with the settings. Now these are console specific settings, so PC, I'm sorry, but unfortunately these do not apply to you. However, everything else besides the settings will. So I'm just going to go through these real quick and just explain why they are the way they are, although sometimes it's hard to explain, but I'll try to make it quick. So horizontal is 100 and vertical is 70, and these are super high as I like to whip around with Mercy and be able to just instantly fly away if I need to. So for example, if a Genji was chasing me in Blade, I could instantly whip around and fly to someone else, and that might not work as well if I had extremely low sensitivity or mid sensitivity, as you know, I might have a hard time finding someone if I can't flick around fast enough. As a Mercy player, you don't necessarily need to have sensitivity for aiming, as that's not your job to aim. You don't have to aim with Mercy with her staff, you only have to aim with her pistol. These settings are the way they are because I designed them to specifically find a balance between aiming with pistol to protect myself, or just to get kills in Valkyrie and quick play, and being able to whip around and prioritize the healing of my team. So that is why they are such high settings. Everything else is default, and then aim smoothing is 22, just to make it even faster. Now I do use vibration just to let some of you know. I don't vibration is kind of a topic. Sometimes people use it, sometimes people don't. I don't know if it betters performance or worsens performance, but either way I have it on, just personal preference. For aim technique, I use linear ramp, and I use this for Moira as well, but that's not what we're talking about here. I use linear ramp because it makes the gameplay extremely smooth, and just flicking around and aiming, it's just more of my style. Normally I use dual zone, and for Ana I think I use exponential, but for Mercy I just prefer linear ramp, as everything is super smooth, super clean, and I don't feel like I'm just darting around so fast that I, get dizzy. So for reticle, I just have a small dot. It's extremely tiny, and I can just show it on the screen here for a second. Like super tiny. It's just an extremely small dot because, again, aim is not necessarily needed. As Mercy, it's really optional to take out pistol. So now for the hero specific settings, we're gonna dive into these more later in the video. I'm definitely going to go to the movement settings as those are extremely important, but the hero specific is super important. So allied health bar is always on always. You should do that for every healer, and honestly I have that for all heroes because it just helps you to protect your teammates if you were a tank or even a DPS. If you see your Mercy's low, you can go help her by securing a kill on the DPS that's hitting her. So for my hero specific settings, I'll just run through them quickly and then I'll come back to them later. Toggle beam connection is off, and I'll explain what these all mean. Toggle beam connection means that you have to hold down to heal. So whether it's on PC or console, you have to hold down your primary fire trigger or whatever trigger you use to heal, and you can't, if you let go, the beam instantly disconnects. When you have that on, you can press the button on someone and then let go and the healing beam will stay, and to take it off you have to press the button on your target again. You can definitely switch between targets if you just look at them, and I actually had this for a really long while until I realized just how much better for me personally toggle beam connection being off is, because I can instantly flick between teammates and it's just easier to take the beam off. I did have trouble with it being on. Next is Guardian Angel performs beam target. This one is really the most important setting here because this will determine your playstyle of Mercy. Well, it won't determine, my apologies, it won't determine it, but it will definitely change your playstyle as it's extremely in depth, and I will go into this later, but I do have this on. For Toggle Guardian Angel, I have that off, and what this is either you tap the button to fly or you hold the button to fly. I have it off, which means you hold it to fly. And if you hold the button to fly, as soon as you let go, your Guardian Angel will stop. And this is great, and I learned this from Animatic. If you hit the brakes, as she calls it, you can save yourself from a lot of situations. For example, flying into a grav, flying into, a diva bomb, you can instantly stop yourself by just letting go of the button. For Toggle Guardian Angel being on, you'd have to tap the button to stop it again, and I found that when I first started with this setting, because it's a default setting, I was flying into a lot of team fights and dying, and I wondered why my teammates were calling me so bad. These settings are kind of irrelevant to me personally, so they can make a difference, but I've had these for an extremely long time and I don't even know why I changed them. I will go back to Guardian Angel prefers beam target in a second, but for now I want to go to the Mercy settings. So the movement settings and everything else I learned from Ninosaur, sorry. I have a hard time pronouncing her name, but she's an extremely good Mercy, and I got my settings from her. So for movement, crouch is regular. Now super jump works with either crouch or toggle crouch, but I had a hard time with toggle crouch personally, and this one is just easier to spam crouch if you need to, so I have circle on just regular crouch. For jump, it's L2, and I'll just kind of roll through these. You can try them out for yourself and I will explain them, but it's kind of something you have to really try for yourself. So where X is where res would normally be, secondary fire. So secondary fire is where your res would normally be on console, L2, and I have switched that to X. Why I switched these around, L2 and X, because at L2 not only is res as default settings, but it also doubles as angelic descent by default. You can't really change that, that's just how it is. Angelic descent is either X or L2. And I've seen with a lot of Mercies, and even one of my own friends that plays Mercy, they tend to float around using L2, and they'll randomly float over a corpse. While holding down L2, they'll res by accident, and that can get them killed in a lot of team fights. It can waste res, so that's why this X is put on a completely separate button, or the res is put on. I'm having a hard time with this. Res is put on a completely separate button so that as you're holding Angelic Descent, you cannot res, you have to click a completely separate button. Also, L2 as jump, it's right underneath Guardian Angel, which is L1 for me, and it makes super jump extremely easy to get down with these settings. So now we're going to go back to the hero specific settings, and I'm actually going to jump in practice range to show you how all of these work. The toggle beam connection and Guardian Angel is toggle Guardian Angel is a little hard to show because you can't see my hand on the controller. So I'm mostly going to focus on Guardian Angel prefers beam target. Alright, so with Mercy here, we're just gonna go over the most basic things about her. So, her setting here, Guardian Angel prefers beam target. For me, that is on, and that is a default setting on a console. Now, what this means is when your beam is connected, you can look away, but wherever you fly, sorry, I went too far, wherever you fly, it will bring you right back to your beam target. So this is cool if you want to, like, if you're like running away, then you can instantly just run back. Now I will explain the advantages and disadvantages for both the on and off setting, because there is quite many for both, and I think that it should be explained so you can have a better understanding and you might find the one that works for you. So for prefers beam target, the disadvantage is that you might forget to disconnect your beam, and if you're trying to fly away, you might bounce back to someone who is unfortunately getting killed, and you might end up dying yourself because you ended up flying back to the wrong person. That's the only one I can really think of. It's just kind of, if you just don't disconnect your beam, you will fly to the person that it's connected to, no matter what angle, no matter where you are, and it just does not matter, you will fly back to them if your beam is connected. Which means there's also a little bit of a wall thing you can do here. For example, you can fly through walls, sort of. Your beam can go through walls and you can still fly for about 3 seconds in total before your beam disconnects, like this. It will not go through walls for that long, but you can still see your target here, so you can fly through the walls. And this is extremely well for the Ilios well map. I'm probably going to put a clip up here in a second of me floating in the Ilios well, and the reason why you can do this is because Guardian Angel prefers beam target on allows you to just keep your beam connected to that one person and fly through walls, and I'll show you why that doesn't work with the setting off. But right now I will show you what it looks like in the Ilios well. So as you can see here, the setting is where you can just fly to your target even if you can't see them, just for a few seconds. However, as I said, the beam will break within about 3 seconds, but you can still see them and fly like this, so I think that's a really cool feature. Alright, so now I'm going to turn it off just for this specific thing here. So now, when I hit the beam here, it looks like any normal thing, but if I look at other heroes, for example these training bots, you can see that the 4 arrows around them are visible. If Guardian Angel prefers beam target is on, you cannot see these arrows, but if it is off, you can fly to other targets and still have your beam connected to someone completely different. This is great, for example, if you want to heal someone and get away at the same time, you can do so. If you want to go for a res while you're still healing someone, while you're getting over there, you can heal them from afar because you can fly to others while having your beam connected to someone else. The only disadvantage to this is that you constantly have to see people to be able to fly. If your beam disconnects, or if you go behind a wall, you cannot see them anymore. So the arrows instantly disappear, and well, that time it worked, but the arrows instantly disappear and you can't fly. It's not possible. So for example, if you had a Pharah, every time you'd want to fly up to her, you'd have to look straight up just to fly, and sometimes that might get you killed as your focus goes up to the sky instead of the enemies that could be right in front of you. That's the only really disadvantage I can find. I had this setting back when I was about 2-star bronze border, and it worked really well for me up until I realized that this on setting just worked way better, in my opinion. I think it just worked better for me personally. I learned a lot of good stuff about that setting, so that's why I use it primarily now. It's just an easier setting for me to work with, and it has many advantages to it. For example, you can just do really cool stuff. If you're with a Pharah, you can look at your team and still fly up because you're only going to fly to the Pharah if you have the setting on.
You've got this.
Either way, I have seen extremely high-ranked Mercy players with the setting off, meaning you can fly to other people with your beam connected to someone else. I've seen high-ranked Mercies play exceptionally well with this. It does not matter what you choose, it is all about what works for you. So that is the explanation of my settings. I think I will end this here now. My voice is starting to hurt, my throat's starting to hurt. Talking is a lot. I'm sorry for all the talking, but this one is definitely going to be the most in-depth video, as it just explains the basic settings for Mercy. Next video, I will go into I think I'm going to definitely go through rezzing first, because rezzing is extremely important. It is one of Mercy's abilities, so you do need to know how to res safely and where to position for a res. I will touch on super jump rezzing. I do have a tutorial, and I will link that up at the top right. It's a res that I don't recommend doing all the time. I rarely do it unless it's absolutely needed. For example, an overtime contest, if you can res a ball or any type of tank or a contesting hero like Lucio. Super jump res is a nice way if they don't have any hit scans or CC, but CC is in pretty much every game I play, so it's not really possible. But yeah, so I'm gonna end this one off here. Go if you want, if you're a console player, no matter if you're Xbox or I think even I don't know if it works for Switch. Switch controls are weird. I've never seen Switch before, so I can't give my opinion. But Xbox and PS4, I've tried them both with my settings. They do work. It's really well placed. So if you want to give them a try, they are free. Go for it. No need to credit. Just go for it. Just end up trying them. If you like them, then that's perfect. They're extremely helpful. Let me know what you think of them, because they're very good for console players, in my opinion, of course. So I will end this off here. Have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever it is for you, and I will be back with the next part, which is going to be rezzing and positioning tied together. Alright, see you all.